For me,
are you talking about Recapture the Rapture?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So so the actual process was more of a kind of what? Tell me about that.
It was a backdoor, random, unintended mystical initiation into time traveling sex magic.
Okay, there you go. There's your blurb.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, what the ever living fuck is this? And then like, holy shit, I think we've cracked the cheat codes. Holy shit, we're not the first. Yeah, it's just the only thing we might be novel in is describing it in a absolutely parsimonious fashion in the terms of 21st century Western neuroscience and psychology. That's it. However, it's fucking rad, and you can go there too. And holy shit, it is absolutely gobsmacking to enter reliably non-ordinary, highly information-rich realms of consciousness and or access to some, information layer, and then bring it back with you and act on the contents therein. So if so to me, that to me is still a fascinating inquiry that virtually nobody's having, which is like, come on, guys, we're all bungee jumping back and forth here into the back of beyond. At some point, don't we triangulate the coordinates, and don't we start layering in the topography and potentially the physics of that domain so that we can better understand it together? And we can, because, if you think the Greeks had the muses, other people have called it the grace of God, people have been visited by angels or divinity, every tradition, dream time in the Aboriginal tradition, everybody's got some very specific descriptor of not actually me, not actually here and now. It was information that was perfect, that was beautiful, that was elegant, that was beyond my ken, whatever. And now we've brought it into 3D, into civilization, into culture, technology, art, religion, philosophy, belief. And we've been doing that for fucking ever. And yet nobody has talked about it in a coherent way. So to me, that notion of what does quantum consciousness and culture, and not in a shitty new age way, in a very specific and technical way that's congruent with physics, what might quantum culture look like, and quantum consciousness? And my best working analogy is that I imagine it would be comparable to the advent of language in early Homo sapiens, in the same way that we were, monkeys without clothes prior to logos. And then we uploaded that capacity, and we were able for abstraction, we collapsed time, we did all sorts of fascinating things, and it gave us a massive boost up on just being a little monkey. What would articulating and then coherently inhabiting together the extra layer of software of quantum consciousness and culture, what might that do to our existence and the future as hominids? Interesting question. And then to me, the middle part is this Kairos Chronos. If we can be in the deep now, be in the sacred of Kairos at the same time as not wiggling off the hook of Chronos, of these earthbound mortal existences, right? And can we bear witness with the bleeding heart at the intersection of both? That is the location that catapults you to the information layer. So it is actually the location, right, that gets you to the infinite. So it's not that they're bifurcated. The only reason I'm naming it the information layer versus Godhead or source or heaven or the Akashic field or fill in the fucking blank is that they're all just polluted. So let's just name it something so bland that no one is tempted to weave that into their pre-existing narrative, and just say, hey, this is experimental and experiential. If you end up in a place of hypercognition and data access, great. Then we can start triangulating our experiments. And if you end up someplace with dragons and fairies and princesses, interesting, potentially different. The question is, are you getting sucked into your reality tunnels, or are you staying up on the dashboard of observing perspective? And I think that a huge thing, which was what's the relationship of the human experience, the broken open redemption, doing it anyway? What's the location in both body and mind of Kairos Chronos? And then what's the access point to the information layer? In the book, I did also describe the invocation, instantiation, and kind of effectively kind of charging up of deities. And this is true in Tibetan Buddhism. This is true in Western magical traditions, Crowley, that whole crew, the idea of like, you literally kind of like make your gods, you with will, with imaginal, with recurring imaginal, with iconography, with all these things. And in some, by all accounts, they appear to stand up and work in some interesting way. I've never gone near that shit because I didn't have a Dumbledore. right? The same reason I've always been super duper arm's length on things like DMT and hyperspace, because it was like, holy fuck, we're getting lobbed into domains that clearly are alive and apparently consequential. And none of us that I'm aware of have any real fucking idea what we're doing or what's going on. So we are rolling the dice with, fundamentally sanity and consequence in ways, to me, that feels reckless and untethered. Right. So the same with any kind of intentional magic. I've just never felt like I have a clue, and I've never felt remotely competent, to presume that I could then, conjure elemental forces and stay on top of that shit.
I'm glad to hear it.
I mean, what it was, like the vomit comet, like that big plane that does the parabolic arcs, and then people preparing to be astronauts get sort of 15 to 30 seconds of zero G. Right. I mean, it was more like a sexual yoga of becoming. So body work, breath work, gas assisted breath work, like minimal, and this was all laid out in the book, right? So cannabinoids, oxytocin.
Oh yeah, you give a list
arguably
of these things,
ketamine, intranasal ketamine, various things, all prescription, all kind of very above board. Oxygen, like nitric oxide as well. Like, just how do you hack and optimize a human nervous system, and then how do you take turns lobbing each other into zero G? And then what do you see? And then come back and take turns and swap. So in that respect, my friend is a PhD in Tibetan religious studies, and he sent me this cutting edge paper on Tibetan Tantra. And I read it. I remember reading it like on Christmas Eve, because I was like so fascinated. I was like, finally, I've got the goods. Someone has sent me the ticket. And I read through the entire thing, and it was still all wrapped in crazy esoterica and unfalsifiable truth claims. And you could not separate wheat from chaff. You could not get to just a straight ass protocol. It was all in iconography and esoterica. I think you're also asking for it. I think my sense is that at least the way we've experienced the infinite game being played is, go to the numinous, be shown that which you need to know, come home, do your homework, level up. And the next time you get there, you will be rewarded with the next level of the game. But on the other hand, if you go to the numinous, you forget what you were shown, you bugger off your homework, and you want to go back anyway because you just remember it was really fucking fun, you are opening yourself for an absolute ass whipping, and a world of hurt, and then potentially kind of like karma on overdrive, which is now you're monkeying with things you probably have no business monkeying with. So you're amplifying up the forces and the vectors, and then you're coming back into your world, and things come unglued at an exponential rate. Sure. Which is why these things were, But actually, can I just finish on the deities thing? Because there is a point that I didn't share in the book, because I just ran out of space, basically. But this is the piece, because for me, there is something beautiful. And this is, Immanuel Kant, right? The idea of be careful. Actually, no, Nietzsche, when he says, be careful when you kill your gods, right? Because you rip out the whole social moral fabric with them, right? So like, oh my God, could we effectively, like Voltron, like a transformer almost, could we honor the light in each of us in a group? Let's just say you got a dozen dear friends. Could you truly name and honor the light that is the 10% of each of us? And out of that, could you assemble anthropos? Could you assemble a perfected human that is created by all of us, but is none of us? And it could even include the one who's always tempted to grab the ring, right? You could even include, right? And buddy, like, I fucking get it that you want to be him, but none of us are. None of us ever could be. But together we can power that up. And then what would that deity, right, instantiated, imaginally generated, right, be? Because we would be anchoring and supporting him or it or her, and yet it would be built into the code that none of us is fucking trying to take that claim. Because that's the other thing that we're seeing in this spiritual self-actualization space, right? People power up into their charismatic light body selves, and a lot of motherfuckers are taking the claim right now. A lot of people are doing the Boromir, like, but if I grab this ring, look, I could do so much with it. I could be king of Gondor, and the idea is like, put it fucking down, like that way lies ruin. So that's my current working hypothesis is can we effectively crowdsource the divine, and then can we unlock the love, the dedication, and the devotion, right? The devotion to something higher and bigger and better than ourselves, which is actually generated by all of us together. That doesn't lead to subjugation, that doesn't lead to a priest class, that doesn't lead to a lot of the pathologies we've seen around deities, but still allows us love and awe and service to something greater than our own meat suit selves. I think maybe like sort of I mean, you know, and hopefully, I mean, whatever, we'll see. I don't hold out any delusions on whether this book will get to do it, but the building blocks are in it, which would be a global decentralized movement of self-organizing flash mobs of church, right? That works in a ritual, and again, including, you know, synchronized consumption of prescription pharmaceuticals in a high vibe celebratory environment that delivers people to anamnesis, the forgetting of the forgetting, such that, right, through movement, through organized song and movement, through breath work, through all of the things, an ecstatic, real sacrament that delivers them to this I remember, and today I begin again. And that people everywhere around the world have a way to metabolize their grief, remember what they forgot, reaffirm their connections to each other, and get back up and live the remaining 6 days of that week with a little bit more light, a little bit more courage, and a little bit more clarity.
That sounds a bit like church.
By any other name.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we're doing Camp Omega, right? So how a camp up in the mountains, the Rocky Mountains near Aspen, to deliver exactly this thing. So this is just going to be our best cut using the same Lego blocks that we've just kind of shared in Recapture the Rapture, and it's going to be everything from an amazing folk band called Rising Appalachia, who's bringing basically gospel karaoke to percussion to aikido to embodiment to theory, literature, and general good times. So we're going to take a cut at this homegrown humans culture as well.